The sound of an old, out-of-tune piano drifted from the abandoned house on the edge of the village, like the death rattle of someone dying. No one had lived there for 50 years, not since little Olenka disappeared. They said she loved to play that instrument, naively picking out children's melodies that now warped into something sinister and inhuman. Last autumn, the silence of the nights was pierced by the first, barely perceptible sounds. A scratching on the keys, like the scraping of claws on bone. The old folks, whose eyes had seen their share of hardship, crossed themselves frantically, feeling a grave chill emanating from the abandoned house. The young ones, feigning bravado, whispered about ghosts, but their jokes sounded strained, betraying an underlying fear. No one dared to approach the house, whose shadow seemed thicker and blacker than ordinary shadows even in daylight. In winter, the melody ceased, but it brought no relief. It was as if the evil had merely lain dormant, gathering strength beneath a frozen crust of silence. With the first signs of spring, as the earth began to thaw and, with it, something buried, the sounds returned. Now it wasn't just a cacophony. A torturous, broken melody could be discerned, full of pain and despair, as if someone were trying to wrench a scream from the instrument. Andrei, a young history teacher, had come to the village full of idealism and a belief in the rational. The legends of the missing girl and the ghostly piano seemed to him no more than folklore. But with each night, as the eerie chords seeped through the thin walls of his house, his confidence melted like the first snow. There was something primal in those sounds, something that resonated with the darkest corners of his subconscious. One night, trying to fall asleep to the howling wind, he distinctly heard a familiar children's lullaby, distorted beyond recognition. It sounded as if someone suffocating on tears and blood were singing it. Andrei felt a clammy cold sweat break out on his skin. Curiosity, driven by a gnawing terror, compelled him to get up. He had to know what was happening in that cursed place. He didn't take a flashlight, but an old kerosene lamp. Its flickering light seemed an unreliable defense against the darkness, but better than nothing. He left the stick behind against whatever made those sounds. Wood would be useless. There was no moon, and the night felt tangible, oppressive. The trees around the abandoned house looked like gnarled skeletons, their branches clawing at the air as if trying to seize him. Each step on the overgrown path was accompanied by the crunch of dry leaves, sounding like a gunshot in the eerie silence. The smell of rotting leaves and damp earth mingled with a faint, sickly sweet odor of decay that made Andrei's throat tighten. The door of the house swung inward at his light touch, as if it had been waiting for him. Inside, there was a complete darkness, thick and sticky. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of dust, mildew, and something else, animalistic and frighteningly familiar. The beam of Andrei's lamp caught crumbling plaster, torn wallpaper covered in strange, dark stains that resembled dried blood. In the far end of the room, he saw the piano. It didn't just look old, it seemed mutilated, as if it had endured terrible torture. "Now you will stay with us." From the broken piano came not a sound, but a wail full of unbearable agony. The keys twitched as if tormented by an invisible force, emitting sounds capable of driving one mad. Andrei tried to run, but his body was locked in an icy paralysis. The creature seized him with its bony fingers, and he felt his flesh tear under their pressure. He was dragged to the piano, and he saw that the remains on the keys weren't just a child's hand. There were other small bones mixed with dried blood and scraps of children's clothing. He was forced onto the stool. His fingers moved against his will, obeying a foreign, sinister command. From the piano poured not a melody, but a torrent of agonizing sounds, each one stabbing into his brain, tearing away the remnants of his sanity. The creature stood beside him, its black eyes devouring his fear. A quiet, malevolent giggle escaped its torn mouth. Andrei felt his own identity dissolving, swallowed by the darkness emanating from this house. He was becoming part of this nightmare, doomed to forever play a funeral dirge for a dead girl and her horrific companion. The next morning, the locals found the house shrouded in an ominous silence. The door was open, but no one dared to enter. Only after several days, gathering their courage, did they discover Andre. He sat at the piano, his body cold and stiff, his eyes staring into nothingness, filled with eternal terror. On the keys lay not only his fingers, but also small, bony hands intertwined with his. Since then, the nights have been filled not just with the sounds of a piano, but with wails of despair, interspersed with a child's weeping and a malevolent giggle. They say that if you get close enough, you can hear two voices whispering in unison, "Play with us forever." And sometimes, amidst the cacophony, a familiar children's lullaby slips through, distorted beyond recognition. A reminder that evil never dies. It merely waits in the shadows, growing stronger with each new victim. Many years have passed since then. The abandoned house has become a sinister landmark of the village, a place even the bravest avoid. During the day, it looks like an ordinary ruin, but as darkness falls, its windows begin to flicker with a dim, lifeless light, and those same eerie sounds drift from within. The legend of teacher Andre and the ghost of Olenka has grown with new, chilling details. They say that whoever dares to enter the house after sunset will never be the same. Some claimed to have seen pale faces pressed against the glass in the windows, watching the outside world with dead eyes. Others swore they heard not only the piano playing, but also muffled voices calling out names. One night, a young medium named Dennis came to the village. He was famous for his ability to communicate with spirits and help them find peace. Hearing the horrifying story of the abandoned house, Dennis felt he had to intervene. He was certain he could free the souls trapped in that cursed place. The locals tried to dissuade him, begging him not to tempt fate. But Dennis was resolute. Armed only with his gift and a few blessed objects, he headed towards the abandoned house in the dead of night. As he approached, the sounds of the piano grew louder and clearer. It wasn't just a cacophony. There was a painful melody discernible within it, as if someone were trying to express unbearable torment. Dennis felt a strong cold emanating from the house, despite the warm summer night. The door, just as it had been years ago, was open. Dennis stepped inside, feeling a thick, sticky darkness envelop him. The smell of decay was stronger, mixed with a nauseatingly sweet aroma reminiscent of a neglected morgue. The beam of Dennis's flashlight caught the same scene. Crumbling plaster, cobwebs, strange dark stains on the walls, and in the far end of the room, the mangled piano. The sound was coming from there. Dennis moved forward slowly, concentrating his energy, trying to make contact with the spirits. Suddenly, the melody stopped, and a chilling child's sob echoed in the silence. "Who's here?" Dennis asked quietly, feeling goosebumps rise on his skin. A hoarse whisper replied, "Pain, cold." Dennis approached the piano. On it, he saw the same small bones mixed with Andre's blackened fingers. But now there were others even smaller, belonging obviously to Olenka. "Are you Olenka?" Dennis asked, trying to remain calm. From the darkness behind the piano emerged that same terrible creature. Its skin was even paler, its eyes even blacker and deeper. The torn gash that was its mouth twisted into a semblance of a smile. "We are both," it hissed, and its voice sounded simultaneously like a child's weeping and a hoarse groan. "He took her, took us." Dennis felt a wave of unbearable pain and hatred emanating from the creature. He understood that not only Olenka's soul was trapped here, but also something older and more malevolent, feeding on her suffering and holding her in this place. "I can help you find peace," Dennis said, raising his hand. The creature made a horrifying, vibrating sound that made the glass in the broken windows rattle. "Peace? There is no peace here. There is only pain and hunger." Suddenly, an deafening chord erupted from the piano, and an icy wave crashed over Dennis. He felt unseen hands trying to grab him, pull him into the darkness. Voices echoed in his head, a child's cry, a man's groan, and a sinister whisper, merging into a single chorus of torment. Dennis tried to resist, called upon his powers, but the darkness was too strong. He saw Andri's pale face, frozen in eternal horror, and Olenka's small face, contorted in a grimace of pain, merged with the repulsive mask of their tormentor. The creature drew closer, and Dennis saw the reflection of his own death in its black eyes. In the morning, the locals found Dennis's car abandoned near the haunted house. The medium himself was nowhere to be found. Only the eerie sounds of the piano were louder and more agonizing than usual. Several more years have passed since then. The legend has become even more terrifying. Now they say that 3 ghosts haunt the abandoned house: little Olenka, teacher Andri, and the young medium Dennis, whose screams sometimes mix with the cacophony of the old piano. And if you get too close at night, you can hear not only the music, but also 3 voices whispering in unison from the darkness of the broken windows. You're next, play with us. And the melody of the piano has become more complex, more insane, with echoes of a lullaby, a teacher's instructions, and desperate prayers for salvation, forever woven into a symphony of terror. And sometimes, for a fleeting moment, amidst this nightmare, a quiet, hopeless child's sigh can be heard, a reminder that in the very heart of the darkness, a small, broken heart still beats, forever locked in the cursed house.